That salvo signals that the President of the Republic of the Philippines has entered the camp.
Talupod! Go!
Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to announce the arrival of our guest of honor, the President of the Republic of the Philippines and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Please rise for the arrival honors.
Tongol! Ta! Mga pinuno, tanghal. Ta!
Bansang Pilipinas, kaming lahat ay nagpupugay. Mamamayan at sa buong sambayanan, ika'y nagsisilbing gabay. Ang hiling namin kay Bathala, basbasan ang Pangulo namin pinagpala. Upang bansang Pilipinas, kaunlaran, kapayapaan ay makamtan.
Mga pinuno, baba. Ta! Dadala.
Thank you. The audience may be seated.
Baba! Ta! Mahal na Pangulo, handa na po ang tanod pandangal upang libutin. Tangal! To! Mga pinuno, tanghal. To! Mga pinuno, baba. To! Dadala. Kalis! Baba! To! Mahal na Pangulo, tapos na po ang parangal. Mga kasama, ipinapaabot ng ating panauhing pandangal, kagalang-galang, Rodrigo R. Duterte, Pangulo, Republika ng Pilipinas, ang kanyang taus-pusong pasasalamat sa parangal na iginawad natin sa kanya ngayong hapon. Mga pinuno, baba. Ta.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines and Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Mga pinuno, dadala. Kalis. Pangkat! Pakanan!
Please be seated.
Mga pinuno, ihit pakanan. Kad! Kad!
Isang magandang hapon sa ating mga pinagpipitaganang panauhin sa mahalagang araw na ito ng pagbibigay parangal sa Pangulo ng Republika ng Pilipinas. Sa okasyong ito, atin din pong masasaksihan ang paglilipat ng pamumuno ng ating sandatahang lakas ng Pilipinas. We shall begin with this afternoon ceremony. You have just heard the sound of the attention call, which signals the entry information of the troops for the parade and review in honor of the President of the Republic of the Philippines and the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. From the right side of the grandstand, you're witnessing the entry of colors. The Philippine national flag is being carried by the members of the Cadet Corps Armed Forces of the Philippines, while the colors of the major service commands and the General Headquarters Armed Forces of the Philippines are being carried by the members of the General Headquarters and Headquarters Service Command Armed Forces of the Philippines. Members of the Philippine Marine Corps carry the AFP masked colors. From both sides of the grandstand, you are witnessing the entry of the troops for the parade and review. It is a division size of troops composed of 2 brigades coming from the 3 branches of service, the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, and the General Headquarters. To your left are the contingents in their gala uniform, while to your right are the contingents in their battle dress uniform. The 1st Brigade in their gala uniform consists of the ceremonial contingents from the General Headquarters and Headquarters Service Command Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Philippine Army, Philippine Air Force, and the Philippine Navy. The 2nd Brigade in their battle dress uniform is comprised of the Army Special Operations Command, members of the Marine Corps, 7th 10th Special Operations Wing of the Philippine Air Force, and the AFP Peacekeeping Operations Center. Over the years, as the global and national socio-political environment confronting our nation evolves and in the process brings new challenges, the Armed Forces has devoted its energy in transforming itself, holding fast to still relevant traditions while shedding off those that need reform. The AFP was once a force for independence against foreign powers and crusaders for the sovereignty of the Filipino people. But now it is a vanguard for external security, bringing peace to Filipino communities across the archipelago and paving the way for an environment conducive to unbridled prosperity. The AFP is the Filipino people's staunchest defender and protector from any threat, guided by the light of justice and law. On this occasion, the Armed Forces reassures the Filipino people of its continued unwavering commitment to the mission to ensure peace and foster nation building with its internal peace and security plan Bayanihan and the thrust on the transformation of a professional, capable, and responsive armed forces that is a source of national pride. Ladies and gentlemen, before you are the troops with utmost commitment and dedication, always present to extend their services for the Filipino nation and its people. They commit themselves firmly in implementing the ideals being espoused by the Internal Peace and Security Plan Bayanihan and the Armed Forces of the Philippines Transformation Roadmap. Anytime, anywhere, and whatever the situation calls for, the foot soldier, the airman, the sailor, and the marine will be there to serve in the spirit of cooperation to achieve peace, thus bringing progress and development in the entire archipelago.
Kampanaw! To! Sampanaw! To! Ibaba! Ha!
Ladies and gentlemen, your armed forces. The troop commander for this ceremony is Major General Angelito M. De Leon, Commander, 7th Infantry Division, Philippine Army. Please rise for the presentation of command and honors.
Kaming lahat ay nagpupugay, mamamayan at sa buong sambayanan, ika'y nagsisilbing gabay. Ang hiling namin kay Bathala, paspasan ang Pangulo naming pinagpala, upang bansang Pilipinas kaunlaran, kapayapaan ay makamtan.
Thank you. The audience may be seated. The troop commander will now present the troops for inspection.
Mahal na Pangulo, handa na po ang mga sampalaw upang libutin.
The Honorary President of the Republic of the Philippines and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, will inspect the troops, accompanied by the Acting Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Lieutenant General Glorioso V. Miranda. They will be joined by the Troop Commander, Major General Angelito M. De Leon. Harking back at the outset of his law career, our esteemed honoree began humbly as a special counsel at the Davao City Prosecution Office back in 1977. But knowing his remarkable willpower mixed with his administrative acumen and value for transparency, he effectively managed to work his way up the ladder of success and functioned as the second assistant city prosecutor in 6 years' time. In no time, he gained confidence to vie for the local mayorship in 1988 and won. At the onset of his term of office as the local city mayor, one of his top priorities was to free Davao City from the tumults brought about by armed struggle. With his unquestionable skill in deal-making and negotiation, he was able to forge a tactical alliance between the government forces and the communist rebels and other leftist groups. Such alliance has freed Davao City from fear of any kind of politically motivated violence, thus a stronghold of safety, a city fostering a healthy and vibrant city established. Such environment that is anchored on security and common discipline is further emboldened by the city's law enforcement. In an effort to further guarantee public safety, our honoree instigated the institution of the world-class Emergency Response Center, Central 911. Since its inception in 2002, the number has already been phoned for immediate emergency response for more than 500,000 times. Since before, the honoree has been a bold and pronounced advocate of crime eradication. He employed various anti-crime platforms and strategies which strikingly upheld safety and discipline in Davao City community. His forthright approach about crime fighting was further affirmed when the former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo sought for him to be her anti-crime consultant in 2002. After taking a glimpse on our honoree's distinctive 28-year track in Davao City government, his outstanding standards of leadership is acclaimed for earning Davao City various local and international accolades over the years. To name a few, the city was awarded the prestigious National Literacy Hall of Fame Award, was once hailed as the most gender-responsive local government unit, most culture-friendly city, cleanest and greenest highly urbanized city in the Philippines, and one of the most livable cities in Asia. It is in these efforts that the honoree has manifested his exceedingly intelligence, strength of will, and sound judgment. His feats and leadership attributes led to earn the trust and respect of the Filipino people. For in the first time in history, we have witnessed a local mayor jump into national presidency when he acquired the favor of 38.6% of the voters. This proves that a strong majority believes that a man with his ironclad competence and exemplary commitment is fit to serve as the Chief Executive of the Republic of the Philippines. And in all this that he has done for the noble service of the people, he shall readily assume the presidential seat and the responsibility of being the first in command of the armed forces of the Philippines in his fullest capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for the 16th President of the Republic of the Philippines, Rodrigo Roa Duterte. We shall have the honors to the nation.
Tanghal. Ha! Pugay kamay. Ha!
Bayang magiliw, peros ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupi, di ka pasisiil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw, may dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhati pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please remain standing. The invocation will now be officiated by the Most Reverend Bishop Leopoldo S. Tumulak, Doctor of Divinity, Military Ordinariate of the Philippines.
Father, Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty Father, Lord of heaven and earth, giver of goodness, origin of all good, with all humility, we bow our hearts to honor you. We offer our lives to praise and glorify you. Our souls yearn for you. Our efforts are incomplete without you, and our lives are directionless without your guidance. Bless all our efforts, sanctify all our work, and unite us to support one another. Stretch out your hand to our Commander-in-Chief and President, Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Anoint him with wisdom, guide him in his work, and protect him in his life. Almighty Lord, bless the Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Ricardo Visaya, who assumes the responsibility today. Help him in his effort to establish peace and harmony. Bless him with continuous courage. We thank you, Lord, for the courage and heroism of Lieutenant General Glorioso Miranda. Continue to shower him with your saving light and grace. Bless him and his family. Grant him peace of mind and protection from all harm. Almighty God, to you we entrust our nation. Strengthen us and bless us, and do not allow us to be separated from you. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Thank you. Please be seated. The Adjutant General, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Brigadier General Ruel N. Sorilla, will read the relief and designation orders.
General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Camp General Emilio Aguinaldo, Quezon City. General Orders number 640, published on 01 July 2016. Section 1, Designation of Lieutenant General Glorioso V. Miranda, Officer-8762, Armed Forces of the Philippines, as the Acting Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, is terminated effective 30 June 2016. Paragraph 1, Section 2, Lieutenant General Ricardo R. Visaya, Officer-8773, Armed Forces of the Philippines, is designated as the Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, effective 30 June 2016. By command of Lieutenant General Visaya, Official Salvador Melchor Bimison Jr., Major General, Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Deputy Chief of Staff. Signed, Ruel N. Sorilla, Brigadier General, Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Adjutant General.
The Acting Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Lieutenant General Glorioso P. Miranda, will give his remarks. This will be followed by his reading and signing of the relinquishment orders.
Our President, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, our President of the Republic of the Philippines, and our Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Honorable Maria Leonor Robredo, our Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines. Honorable Secretary of National Defense, Delphine N. Lorenzana, and his wife, Mrs. Edith A. Lorenzana. Most Reverend Bishop Leopoldo Tumulak, the Military Bishop and Military Ordinate of the Philippines. I would like to greet my wife, Caroline, and my children who are present here, Christine Andrea, Glenn Carlo, Gian Christopher, and my grandson, Nathan Christopher. I greet also Lieutenant General Ricardo R. Visaya, AFP, the incoming Chief of Staff, AFP, his mother, Maria Corazon, his wife, Mildred, and their children, Melvin, Vichy, Maricar, and Raymond, daughter-in-law, Tiana, and grandson, Yoghan. May I greet also Honorable Fidel V. Ramos, the former President of the Republic of the Philippines, members of the Diplomatic Corps, former Chief of Staffs of the Armed Forces of the Philippines who are present here. We have here Congressman Rodolfo G. Biazon, Ambassador Benjamin P. Defensor Jr., Yusek Emmanuel T. Bautista, General Ricardo David, General Victor S. Ibrado, and General Hernando DCA Ereberi and wife Agnes. Officials from the Department of National Defense, Major Service Commander, and let me call them, Lieutenant General Eduardo Año, Philippine Army, Commanding General, Vice Admiral Cesar Tacat, the Flag Officer in Command, Lieutenant General Faljurina, the Commanding General of the Philippine Air Force. And we have here with us the Unified Commanders, Lieutenant General T. Tanalgo, Northern Luzon Command, Lieutenant General and Mrs. Mayoralgo de la Cruz, Western Command, West Mindanao Command, Lieutenant General Reynaldo Leonardo Guerrero, Commander, Eastern Mindanao Command, Rear Admiral Joseph Mercado, Western Command, Brigadier General Apolinario E. Aloba, the Commander, Joint Task Force NCR. Let me greet also our Deputy Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Major General Salvador Melchor M. Mison Jr., members of the Joint Personnel and Special Staff, and Commanders and Chief of AAP Wide Support and Separate Units and their ladies, members of the PMA Class of 1983 and their lovely ladies, Association of Generals and Flag Officers led by Lieutenant General Edilberto Adan, presidents of the different AAP financial institutions and Hero Foundation, members of the Foreign Armed Forces Attachés, Command, AAP Command, Sergeant Major, of course, First Chief Master Sergeant Romeo Handugan and the Major Service Sergeant Majors, personal guests of Lieutenant General Ricardo Visaya from Mindanao, Bicol Region, Southern Tagalog, Lipa City, Batangas, Ilocos Norte, and the Southern Luzon Command headed by Colonel Ernesto Diaz. Our friends from the media, officers, enlisted personnel, and civilian employees of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good afternoon. Troop Commander, please command Tikas Pahinga.
Tikas! Ha! Tikas. Ha!
When I assumed the position as the Acting Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, few months ago, the huge responsibility of leading the Armed Forces of the Philippines immediately dawned on me. It came at a time when we were entering one of the finest moments in our democratic life as a nation, especially during the conduct of the national and local elections. Implied is the subsequent leadership transition for which we are all gathered here today. But more than recognizing the insurmountable odds during the trying moments, I took pride and honor of leading the Armed Forces of the Philippines, your AFP, in those finest moments, guided by the very same oath I took decades ago. Putting it into practice, I would say, I am a soldier, and always will I be. Indeed, a big challenge. But there is consolation into it. Consolation in the sense that the end state is clear, the objective is defined, and the mission, however peculiar, is very precise. Guided by this, the mission, the objective, bundled by the same oath, and the rest, I would say, is all history. My mission was given at a crucial stage in our country's political history. With all humility, I can say, sir, mission is accomplished, and as I am relinquishing my post as the acting chief of staff, the smooth transition of authority and leadership is now complete. Aside from the clear mission founded on the noble oath, there is one thing more than that I must admit. Nagtiwala ako ng buo sa bawat pinuno ng sandatahang lakas ng Pilipinas. I fully trusted and actively conveyed my trust to our commanders and soldiers because situated at a crucial period of our transition in leadership, I did not want things to be slowing down in the AFP while I held forth. Now, shifting to our attention to the main purpose of this event, we are privileged to welcome our new Chief of Staff, AFP, who is no stranger to us. Of course, Lieutenant General Ricardo Ramuran Bisaya, AFP. And we cannot feel more honored than to have in our presence the presiding officer, our President and Commander-in-Chief, His Excellency Rodrigo Roa Duterte. As a caretaker leader, I humbly behold this formal transition and changing of the guards. And I am truly glad to reach this moment like a relay with the baton in a hand, with enough stride made in so short a time, and enough time gained to this level to pass on to the incoming Chief of Staff, AFP. We all know that no one can lead without the authority to lead, and this authority can come from many sources. First of all, of course, is from higher legitimate authorities issuing orders. After all, this institution is governed by orders, the fundamental fiber that defines professionalism in this organization. It can come from the leader's character of skill. It can come from the outstanding previous achievements of academic brilliance. It can come from the competence and proven effectiveness. It can come from other sources, traditional and non-traditional, that supports his overall qualification. It can even come from pure charisma. Well, let me tell you that the incoming Chief of Staff, General Bisaya, who happens to be my mista, has all of that and more, not only because of his vast experience in the field and naturally grown wisdom, but because of his attitude to any situation and readiness to dare any approach to finding solutions. He is just but fitting for the job, and this is not to my singular claim, but rather the collective wisdom of the Board of Generals of the AFP. And we know that even if his name is Bisaya and he hails from Luzon, in fact, may kababayan along that line, he is actually tunay na makabansa. Finally, allow me to express my wholehearted gratitude to everyone for your trust and support. The AFP leadership will remain steadfast in its service to our grateful nation. We will always abide by our noble mission, support our leaders in transformation, and defend the good name of our institution for and in behalf of the Filipino people. Indeed, I can personally vouch during my stint as the acting Chief of Staff that the AFP transformation towards its vision of a world-class armed forces, a source of national pride, is at work and will continue to work as we perform our fundamental mandate of serving the people. Caveat, though, is that we are not quite there yet. Lots of work to be pursued, but at least we are in the right track. At this point, I do not have a tour of duty report to speak with. However, more importantly, to our President and the Commander-in-Chief and the Chief of Staff, AFP, I present to you the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Sir, in front of you is the microcosm of the AFP institution and, of course, not entirely for ceremonial purposes, but rather our simple way of demonstrating our support to the new leadership. As it is, the troop commander in front of us, cascading through the chain of command to the last element in the rank and files, are standing proud and honored to have you with us. Troop commander, please command attention.
Lupuran, man, ha! Samparaw! Ha!
Their collective message, if I may speak for them, is that, sir, we are all ready to proceed and are waiting for the new marching orders. Behind you are the command and control mechanisms of the armed forces, the same able leaders that without those untiring efforts and sacrifices, the mission accomplishment may not have been possible. May I invite all officers seated behind, led by the service commanders and the area commands, and the service employers, area commands, at all echelons, please stand up to be recognized. Sir, mahal na Pangulo, this is the Armed Forces of the Philippines, ready to trek with you in serving the Filipino people, no matter how the road looks like. Please sit down. May I end by expressing my personal gratitude to all the men, women, sailors, airmen, mariners, and soldiers, as well as the leadership for only one thing, for allowing me the chance to exercise my being a soldier founded by that oath that I mentioned earlier. Indeed, it is quite fulfilling. With this, mabuhay ang sandatahang lakas ng Pilipinas. Muling maraming salamat po at isang magandang hapon sa ating lahat. And now, let me proceed to the relinquishment of my command. Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Camp General Emilio Aguinaldo, Quezon City, dated 1 July 2016. Office Order 10-16, relinquishment. Pursuant to Section 1, General Orders Number 640, General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, dated 1 July 2016, I hereby relinquish the duties and responsibilities as Acting Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, effective this date. And I signed in your presence.
The Acting Chief of Staff will order the AFP Sergeant Major, First Chief Master Sergeant Romeo H. Andugan, to lower his flag. The personal flag of someone in authority represents a distinguishing mark of influence. A personal flag is indicative of the command rank of a general or flag rank officer. Traditionally, it is flown by ship or station to which he is designated as the commander. On this occasion of the AFP's change of command ceremony, the lowering of the personal flag of the Acting Chief of Staff Armed Forces of the Philippines symbolizes the handing over of responsibilities attached to his position. The encased personal flag of the Acting Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, will be presented by the AFP Sergeant Major. The incoming Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Lieutenant General Ricardo R. Visaya, will read and sign the order for his assumption of command.
General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Office of the Chief of Staff, Camp General Emilio Aguinaldo, Quezon City, 01 July 2016. Office Orders Number 1116, Assumption. Pursuant to Section 2, General Orders Number 640, General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, dated 01 July 2016. I hereby assume the duties and responsibilities as Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, effective this date, and I sign in your presence.
We shall now witness the handover of the command symbol to be presided by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Saber is a representation of trustworthiness and steadfastness. This represents responsibility. Saber is associated with military leadership and warfare. The new Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Lieutenant General Ricardo R. Visaya, will now give his first order to raise his personal flag. His remarks will immediately follow.
My personal flag.
The personal flag is a distinct symbol of authority. On this occasion of the change of command ceremony, the raising of the new Chief of Staff's personal flag signifies that he is now in charge to command the force. The new Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines will deliver his remarks.
The President of the Republic of the Philippines and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, His Excellency Rodrigo Roa Duterte. The Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines, Honorable Maria Leonor Robredo. The Secretary of National Defense, Honorable Delphine Lorenzana, sir, and wife, Mrs. Edita Lorenzana. The former Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and former President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Fidel V. Ramos, sir. The Military Bishop and Military Ordinariate of the Philippines, Most Reverend Bishop Leopoldo Tumula. members of the Diplomatic Corps, we have here from the United States His Excellency Philip S. Goldberg, from Turkey, Her Excellency Esra Kankur, our National Security Advisor, General Hermogenes Esperon Jr., sir, former Chiefs of Staff, Congressman Rodolfo Biason, Ambassador Defensor, sir, Yusek Emmanuel Bautista, sir, General Ricardo David Jr., sir, General Victor S. Ibrado, Mamista General Hernando DCA Riberi, and wife Agnes, the new Chief of the Philippine National Police, Police Director General Ronald De La Rosa, officials from the Department of National Defense, Major Service Commanders from the Philippine Army, Lieutenant General Eduardo Año, and wife Jean. With him, his staff and other generals and key officers of the Philippine Army, the Flag Officer in Command, Philippine Navy, and Vice Admiral Cesar Takad, and wife Jocelyn, and their staff. Also, our MISTA, the Commanding General of the Philippine Air Force, Lieutenant General Edgar Fallurina, and wife Erica. Also a MISTA, the Commandant of the Philippine Coast Guard, Rear Admiral William Melad, and Mrs. Janet Melad. Unified Commanders, the Commander of the Northern Luzon Command, Lieutenant General Romeo Tanalgo. From Western Mindanao Command, Lieutenant General Mayoralgo de la Cruz. From Eastern Mindanao Command, Lieutenant General Ray Leonardo Guerrero. From Western Command, Rear Admiral Ronald Joseph Mercado. The Commander of Joint Task Force NCR, Brigadier General Apolinario Aloba. The Deputy Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Major General Salvador Melchor Mison Jr., members of the Joint Personnel and Special Staff, and commanders and chiefs of AFP-wide support and separate units and their ladies, may I greet also my friends from Mindanao, the Governor of Basilan when I was the brigade commander in the said province, and now a Congresswoman, Honorable Jum Akbar. The Mayor of Tacurong City, Sultan Kudarat, Mayor Lina Montilla. From Lanao del Norte, the former Mayor of El Salvador, Sultan Johnny Tawan-Tawan. With him are his three sons, Mayor Hasanor Tawan-Tawan, Attorney Mohammad Nabil Mutia, and Al Jeffrey Mindalano. My friend from Cagayan de Oro City, Mr. Henry Chiu, and also Mr. Mike Salvador. From Bukidnon, the Mayor of Kalilangan, Bukidnon, Honorable Mora Haji Pizarro. From the Bicol region, we have here the Governor of Camarines Norte, Governor Edgardo Tallado. Engineer Nelson Mandes, Mr. Jun Lu, Mr. Nat Uy and Nielsen Uy. From the Southern Tagalog region, we have here the Mayor of Lucena City, Mayor Roderick Dondon Alcala, the Mayor of Tayabas City, Mayor Ernida Reynoso, officers, men, and civilian employees from the Southern Luzon Command. Likewise, may I greet my friend from Lipa, Batangas, Engineer Elmer Garjola. May I also greet our Mayor from Bacare, Ilocos Norte, Mayor Nico de la Cruz. My family, relatives, friends from the media, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. With the permission of the Commander-in-Chief, Troop Commander, give your men tikas pahinga.
Ikas. Ha! Ikas. Ha!
As I take on the responsibility of leading the 130,000 strong men and women of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, I will begin my journey by giving back all the praises and glory to our Lord God Almighty. I firmly believe that all momentous events such as these are designed by the author and finisher of our faith. We can only move forward to claim our destiny with divine grace and providence. With utmost humility, I also express my deepest gratitude to our Commander-in-Chief, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, sir, for his trust in my ability to lead the Armed Forces of the Philippines in a time of change. Mr. President, maraming salamat po. My sincerest admiration also goes to the outgoing Acting Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Glorioso V. Miranda, and all the officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines for shielding our men and women from partisan politics during the recently concluded national and local elections, and all our personnel for staying on course in a period of leadership transition. Honor is also due to my loved ones and relatives who are always there for me. My mother, Maria Corazon Ramoran Visaya, and my late father, Rogelio Velasco Visaya. Thank you for the gift of life and for sacrificially guiding me to always do my best in everything I have set out to accomplish in my life's journey. To my brothers and sisters who always stand by my side, whether in moments of triumph or in sadness. To my loving wife, Mildred, my eldest son, Melvin, and his wife, Chana, my first grandson, Owen, my only daughter, Vichy Maricar, and my youngest son, Raymond. Please stand up to be recognized. You are the source of my strength. No words can best describe your personal sacrifices, untiring support, and understanding as I continue to face the changes of my military service and as we work together to keep our family intact despite all odds. To the members of PMA Matigas class of 1983 and their ladies, please stand up. Members of the Free and Accepted Masons of the Philippines, please stand up. My high school classmates at BNCSS, please stand up. And also from the Banahaw Golf Club and the Alpha Omega Fraternity, please stand up. The officers and men of SOLCOM and all its OPCON units, to all of you, thank you very much. May I also thank the following senior officers who are now retired, who guided me and who have great influence in my military career. General Hermogenes Peron Jr., my division commander at the 7th Infantry Division. Lieutenant General Gregorio Camiling Jr., my 1st Battalion Commander in Surigao del Sur, General Alfonso Daguda, sir. Brigadier General Dionisio Santiago, Lieutenant General Romeo Dominguez, Lieutenant General Edilberto Adan, now the President of the Association of Generals and Flag Officers, Lieutenant General Pedro Cabuay Jr., Lieutenant General Romeo Tolentino, Lieutenant General George V. Segovia, Lieutenant General Ricardo Reinier Cruz, and Brigadier General Edmunda Birillon. Sa inyong lahat, maraming salamat din sa malaking bahagi na inyong ginampanan sa paghubog ng aking katauhan na nakatulong ng lubos upang aking marating ang kinalalagyan ko ngayon. In my younger years, I witnessed the excesses and abuses of the military force. This gave me the thought then of donning a military uniform, not really to be a general, but just to be an instrument of change. Instead of sitting idly and watching the force slide farther from mediocrity to infamy, I have to be an active part in making our organization a disciplined and professional institution worthy to be proud of. So from the time that I graduated from the Philippine Military Academy and started off my career in the Army, personal gains and selfish interests were way out of the equation. I simply did my best every step of the way, just like what my parents had taught me earlier. Thus, reaching this far is truly a blessing. I had my own share of troubles in my rise up the ladder of command and leadership. My firm position on some issues may have put my career on the line and in many instances, but I was not bothered as long as I stand on solid ground with my principles intact. I may have been embroiled in numerous cases and my service reputation was besmirched by malicious allegations of human rights violations. I just consider these unfounded accusations and fabricated stories as indispensable reaction of some misguided quarters to my effective action and no-nonsense performance of duty. Nonetheless, legal institutions dug deeper into those accusations and all were dismissed after tedious judicial proceedings. Such allegations were proven to be mere instigations, not only to malign me, but the whole military institution too. This gave me the renewed drive to be more resolute in accomplishing my mission, as I have committed to lift the name of the military from the quagmire of inefficacy. But my trek through the perilous path of the military service was not all pitfalls and blind curves. When I survived a helicopter crash on August 7, 2014 in Marawi, Lanao del Sur, I knew then that it was God's intervention to set me into further motion. My mission became clearer as I started to embrace divine plan above human understanding. It was another blessing to be given a second chance to rise up and prove further my worth. We are now in our final push as we approach the culmination of the internal peace and security Panbayanihan by the end of this year. By stroke of fate, the 6-month duration also coincides with the beginning of a new era of change as we lay down the bedrock foundation for security and defense under the new administration. It is in this context that I set the direction of our force following our Commander-in-Chief's paradigm shift in military operations. Change will be felt as we impact on the life of our nation by the way we conduct our internal security and territorial defense operations, by the manner we assist law enforcement agencies in their fight against terrorism, drugs, and criminalities, and by our timely humanitarian assistance and disaster response under the banner of genuine transformation. The AFP will continue to embark on a people-centered approach as we involve even various rebel factions in our aim towards nation building. We will support the expanded peace process with rebel groups and participate in consensus building so we can already proceed forward in unity and harmony with our fellow Filipino citizens. Our impact in far-flung communities and even in urban centers will be felt as we gear for peace, as we shun hatred and fear, and as we slowly break down the barriers of animosity and bigotry that have gripped our nation for decades. But we will be unrelenting in our focused military operations against terrorist groups like the Abu Sayyaf group and all its allied terrorist cells. We will realign military resources to their identified bailiwicks and sanctuaries and apply our military strength to suppress them, hunt them down, and finish them. We will continue to apply the full force of the law 24/7 to go after these criminals and profit-seeking elements who operate under the guise of religious fervor and holy war. To realize this, the AFP will rethink our armament acquisition program to further beef up our capacity and capability to search and engage these rogue and lawless elements. Over and above our role to run after the terrorists, we will also intensify our support to law enforcement agencies, particularly the Philippine National Police and the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, in their vision to eliminate widespread criminality and the wanton destruction of lives brought about by the spread and views of illegal drugs. We will start the same advocacy within our ranks by continuously weeding out those scalawags who use drugs, who have links with illegal groups and activities. Then we will proceed to build alliances with our counterparts to bring down syndicates and other organized crime groups. And matters of territorial defense, we will abide by the political, legal, and democratic processes to settle issues and support national policy to strengthen our position in the regional and global area. The AFP will rationalize our relationship with our allies in order to strengthen our military ties with them, while at the same time prioritize the interests of our force and our nation. Our modernization initiatives will also be refocused on rebuilding our internal war-fighting capabilities to run after internal security threats and support law enforcement operations. These aspirations can only be achieved in a security landscape that is firmly grounded in regional peace and amity with all of our neighbors in the region. From a change perspective of regional cooperation, we will have no fear of widespread confrontation, and we can shift to more pressing roles such as humanitarian assistance and disaster response. Our country, being situated in the Pacific Ring of Fire, has recorded more casualties and devastations brought about by national disasters and calamities than in almost half a century of insurgency. Hence, we will consolidate and ready our forces to become first responders and take proactive roles to protect our environment and mitigate the effects of climate change. We will then enhance our efforts to work closely with other agencies, non-government organizations, and the private sector to firm up our mechanisms to realize these advocacies. With the advent of genuine reformation, we will improve individual soldiers' competencies, not only in combat, but also in other priority programs of the new administration. As I always intimate to our troops in my numerous field visits, we must instill in ourselves the desire to excel in all our endeavors and to continue our quest for excellence even beyond the call of duty. Every soldier is a fighter, a law enforcer, a rescuer, and above all, a reformed man. In all this, the AFP will always be guided by the principles of transparency, accountability, and adherence to human rights, international humanitarian law, and the rule of law. These values will never be lost despite massive change in the way we think and operate. Therefore, the AFP will continue to seek the support and cooperation of the whole Filipino nation as we aggressively pursue the path towards transformation. As change is coming, We will first embrace it from within and then help others so we can all create a societal order that is anchored in a platform of discipline and unity. To the gallant men and women of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, as public servants and professional soldiers, we are bound to follow the chain of command and the duly constituted authorities. Let us strictly adhere to the supremacy of civilian authority over the military. Let us join hands as we face a new beginning for our military institution and for our beloved Filipino nation. Fellow soldiers, our countrymen have already spoken. Our new Commander-in-Chief is willing to invest in the unification of all Filipinos, to extend the hand of peace, to end armed conflicts, to end the permission of illegal drugs and all facets of our society, to reduce crimes and stop corruption in the government service, and to lead us all to our redemption as a Filipino nation. Sa aming mahal na Pangulo, makakaasa po kayo na ang buong sandatahang lakas ng Pilipinas ay kaagapay ninyo upang may sakatuparan ang inyong mga adhikain para sa kabubuti ng ating inang bayan at ng buong sambayanang Pilipino. I now call upon the men and women of the Armed Forces of the Philippines within the bounds of our mandated task. Let us work together under a strong chain of command against those who will attempt to undermine our solidarity and commitment to serve and protect our country and people. Mabuhay ang Kawal Pilipino. Mabuhay ang sandatahang lakas ng Pilipinas. Mabuhay po tayong lahat. Marami pong salamat.
Thank you very much, General Visaya, sir.
Sampanaw! Ha!
The guest of honor will be introduced by the Secretary of National Defense, the Honorable Delphine N. Lorenzana.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Kindly sit down, thank you. Troop Commander, give the order of Tikas Pahinga.
Tikas! Ha! Tikas. Ha!
The Vice President Lenny Robredo. This is my first time to meet you personally. I would have preferred to be seated beside you, but andyan si Defense. President Fidel V. Ramos, the first Filipino who journeyed to Davao City to ask me to run for public office and presidency. And he said to me, you run because it is high time that Mindanao should have its president. Maraming salamat sa iyo, sir. Secretary Delphine Lorenzana, we were together in Davao many years ago. And, well, of course, that is why I chose him. Kasi yung kilala ko. Yung iba, hindi ko kilala. So, Lieutenant General Glorioso Miranda, sir, please sit down, sir. Napapahiya ako. Bishop Leopoldo Tumulak, the members of the diplomatic corps, major service commanders, and the men and women of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, members of the Foreign Armed Forces attaches, fellow workers in government, my beloved countrymen. Alam mo, the first job of a president is not to go to war, but rather to bring peace to his land. So even before I was
Well, it was already proclaimed, but before assumption of office, I was busy going around Mindanao and talking to a lot of people to bring about peace in our land. Started with the left and with the NPAs, and we got a favorable answer from the leaders, including Maria Sison, Jose Maria Sison. Alam mo, it was in the 1970s na nakinig ako kay Maria Sison, Jose Maria Sison, talking about revolution. And I was then in the AB and half of it, well, of course, sa College of Law. And I am now 71 years old, and the Communist Party is still talking of a revolution. Kaya sinabi ko sa kanila initially, anong gusto ninyo sa bayan natin? I was a student, ako lolo na ako ngayon, at naging presidente pa. I don't know really why. You have to supply the answer. Maybe President Ramos can give us an idea. Well, we got this favorable response from the outside, and we started to talk. I went to the camp of Murad and started to talk to the Central Committee and Jafar. And since Noor is a friend of mine, and I said, Noor, we're about to go. Matanda na tayong dalawa. Are we still going to fight at this time? My job is to bring peace. My job is to talk to the enemies of the state, to the Communist Party of the Philippines, to the MILF, and to the MN, and see if I could make a difference in our lives. Alam mo, hindi ko sinali ang Abu Sayyaf neither dito o sa criminal campaign natin because the Abu Sayyaf is closely connected with the issue of Mindanao. Originally, mga tao sila ito ng MN, pati mga anak na yung MN ngayon, pati MI. And that was where the futility they saw in the Mindanao issue. Simply stated, they're claiming the historical right and more privileges for them. And I cannot blame them. You know, when Magellan landed in Leyte in 1521, bringing Christianity with him and propagated it everywhere in the Visayas and Luzon, 100 years before, Sulu area and some parts of Mindanao were already Islam. And that is why a lot of the historical planners never really took into the consideration that there was this oppression by a series of government na hindi kanila. And they think that until now, we are trying to repress them. And I said to them, you know, you cannot drive us away anymore. Kagaya ko at pati yung mga anak ko, half of us are really Moro already. I have a branch of my family, my little boys and girls who are Moro. And so I behoves upon me, I think, to really look for the answer. And if I can hack it, and if I can talk to Maria Sison and bring about not a coalition government, an inclusive government, they are there already. And I said that just so long as the powers that would pertain to matters belonging to the police and the military, hindi ho sa inyo yan. But all others, the mundane matters of governance, I can give it to you. And we are talking. Next week, we're to talk to the MI, and eventually, I think I'll have to travel to Hulo to talk to Noor. I am willing to give them safe conduct passes, only the leaders, at baka matsambahan ko na magkaroon tayo ng mapayapa And if that happens, really, I can retire happy and I can look back and say that I did my duty in nation building. It is not a war to be fought forever. We cannot fight forever. We might have the weapons, the armaments, and the bullets, but the mortars. But that does not make a nation. My job is to bring peace. But hand in hand, I must also bring order in my country. Alam mo, sa totoo lang, we can only take so much. I am not warning Abu Sayyaf, but I said there will always be a time for reckoning. When, well, just keep our fingers crossed. And I said we can only swallow so much. We cannot be the whipping boy of a few who want nothing but maybe money and power in their hands. And so also with the problem now, a very serious problem of the country. Eh saan ka nakakita dito ng gobyerno na ang trafficking ng drugs is being controlled inside the Bilibid prison? Sa atin lang. At parang sampal yan ng ilang beses. And how it came about into being is really, well, I would have said, in neglect. Eh, how can it happen na kung mag-inspection ka sa Bilibid, you have to ask permission from the idiots inside? Ay, nako. This is my first day. I'm warning them there. They have the TVs there inside. Kaya napasyal ako noon, pagpasok ko, I was there to see, I accompanied Pastor Kibuloy to pray over kay Webb, yung anak ni Webb, who was in Muntinlupa. At pagdaan ko doon sa death row, sabi ko, oy, Mayor, akala ko naman taga Davao. Sabi ko, ang rami yung taga Davao na kulong ah. Sabi na hindi, Mayor, mga Ilocano kami, halo-halo, mga waray. Nakikita ka namin sa TV. Well, the TV is there now. Magbilang kayo ng araw. Magbilang kayo ng araw. Sa ginagawa ninyo, do not be the solution of it all. May problema dyan, hinihiya ninyo ang gobyerno, sinasampal ninyo kami. Magbilang kayo ng oras. Ayoko ng araw. The drugs must be suppressed. It cannot be eliminated. For as long as the greed for money is there, the very corrosive effect of money has had an impact on our society. There are a lot of people, lives destroyed, using it. And noon, they were in the rural areas. Now they have reached the hinterlands. And they are getting the carabaos and the pigs and the chickens and the eggs. Well, nakikinig naman yung mga NPA, nasa pwesto pa naman kayo. Ano kaya yung korte nito, ang korte ninyo na, I don't know if it's a kangaroo or otherwise, pagpatayin na lang ninyo para mas madali ang solusyon ng problema natin. Anyway, kung maengkwentro ninyo yan, it's always a crime committed in your presence. You do not shoot anybody just because you see them walking. But I know you have this validation. Kayo dyan sa bukid, tatapusin na ninyo yan. Mas mabuti, wala na rin kayong ginagawa. There's a slowdown in the fighting. Why should we be fighting? When as a matter of fact, I'm just awaiting for the arrival of Season to talk to him. And maybe, just maybe, in the fullness of God's time, we can have peace. amongst us. Yung mga droga ay malala. And I have to call in the Armed Forces of the Philippines to help. Sadly, gusto ko sanang ang inyong Board of Generals would be a vibrant entity within the organization. As I have promised, and as was my practice during my mayorship days, I never interfered kung ano ang trabaho ng police. I did not even want to entertain yung request for an assignment of a certain police officer in the barangays. I'd always tell them, go to the police director. I do not want to interfere in all. The best support that I can give you, and you can ask anybody, lahat yan sila ngayon nasa gobyerno, nagdala-dala ko. There once upon a time, city police directors. And, well, the performance was there. Lahat naman mababait at mahusay. Except for a few. And in this our society now, nagbabaha yung droga. And drug lords, and the criminals. And there were a lot of Chinese citizens, Filipino or otherwise, kidnapped, ransom demanded, but they were never really returned. So tinapon lang nila kung saan, ilibing nila kung... These are the things that we have to stop. And that is why I said I would be harsh. Not cruel, but I would be harsh. And wala akong tolerance sa droga. Zero. So, yan ang laban natin ngayon. Kayong nagbakasyon dito from the fields in Mindanao and in the Visayas, you might want just to join the hunt for them. We will eliminate the drug lords once and for all. We have to stop this practice sa bilibid. Bitawan na ninyo yan o kainin na ninyo ngayon ang supply ninyo. Nawala na talaga ang pasensya ko sa inyo. Iniinsulto ninyo kami. Hinuling ko nga kayo sa Davao kasi nagluluto kayo ng siyabo. Hindi ko kayo pinatay dahil magalit ang human rights. Dinala ko kayo dyan sa Muntinlupa after conviction at pagdating dyan, nagluluto na naman ng siyabo. Anong klase? Noon kasi hindi ako presidente. Ngayon, well, we'll just have to make some adjustment. You know, there is always a time for everything. There is always a time for you to make money and make a mockery out of our laws. There's always a time for you to be in control even if you are inside the prison. But there is always a time to rest and to die. Ganon ang buhay. As you are born, there's also death. I'm not threatening you. I'm just telling you that there is always a time. And for us, the security forces, the armed forces and the police, there is always a time. We can only take so much in so. We can only take so much hanggang kaya lang ng sikmura natin. Ako ay nasusuka na. And you have to help me put a stop. In the final days of the campaign at Luneta, I gave this statement, and I said, I will put at stake my honor, my life, and the presidency. Sinabi ko sa inyong mga kriminal, lahat kayo, if you destroy my country, I will kill you. If you destroy our children, I will kill you. If I am asked by anybody, including the Commission on Human Rights, I do not know you. Salamat po. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for your message, sir.
Sampanaw! Ha!
The audience may be seated. The new Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Lieutenant General Ricardo R. Visaya, will be presenting the AFP Coat of Arms to President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Armed Forces of the Philippines Coat of Arms. Adapting the symbolism of the Philippine national flag, this coat of arms embodies the AFP's mandate to serve and protect Philippine democracy and freedom, a creed firmly upheld by each and every Filipino soldier. Presented to President Rodrigo R. Duterte, President of the Republic of the Philippines, by the officers, enlisted personnel, and civilian employees of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Thank you, sirs. We shall proceed with the pass and review.
Go. Ha! Pasamasid! Sa kanang balikat. Ha! Talupad. Unang talupad. Angat pasulong. Cut!
The President of the Republic of the Philippines is respectfully requested to stand at the center front for the pass and review. Today we witness the rites of passage in the leadership of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, with the new Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, at the helm of the 125,000-strong soldiers, airmen, sailors, and Marines. As it continues to perform its mandate of preserving peace and development, the Armed Forces will fully support the new administration of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you the various contingents of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, ang mga makabagong katipunero, makadiyos, makakalikasan, makatao at makabansa. The parading contingent is led by Major General Angelito M. De Leon, his staff, Captain Mederico Celso, Colonels Timoteo Ferdinand Blasco, Eric Escarcha, Ferdinand Reboja, Alfredo Patarata, and Florentino Mendez Jr. Following the troop commander and staff is the AFP Composite Band under the baton of Petty Officer 1 Joel Signo. The 1st Brigade is headed by Brigadier General Anselmo Doroteo Hunsay, his staff, Commanders Ricardo Martin and Edwin Princilio, Lieutenant Colonel Zarina Mangubat, Glenn Michael Manansala, and Alexander Banatao. Following is the battalion from the General Headquarters led by Major Augusto Austria, his Staff Majors Noel Roque, Emmanuel Cuadra, and Danilo Chad Escandor, and Captain Marcelo Pasco Jr. These officers and men of General Headquarters and Headquarters Service Command share the popular concern in the sanctity of the constitutional processes and the safeguarding of individual liberties. They are the soldiers at the forefront of securing the AFP's headquarters and the National Capital Region. The Army contingent, represented by the Security and Escort Battalion under the command of Major Philip Aramilia, his Staff Captain Ananias Blanco, First Lieutenant Arturo Satur Jr., Captain Ron Michael Soriao, and First Lieutenant Jose Martin Nuas. The Security and Escort Battalion is especially trained for area security and for rendering military honors to important personages and visiting dignitaries. The Angels of Mercy and the Guardians of the Philippine Skies, the Air Force Battalion led by Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Andrew Dimapilis, his Staff Majors Demidor Cruz, Louis Leander, Victirol, and Richard Dalag. Represented by the Philippine Air Force Gala Battalion, this unit conducts military honors and other ceremonial requirements of the Philippine Air Force. Next, we have the protectors of the Philippine Seas and the first line of defense to uphold our territorial integrity, the Philippine Navy. The battalion is under Commander Victor Ramos, his staff, Commander Limar de la Calzada, Lieutenant Commander Sherwin Opena, Herbert Estabilio, and Efren Cajepo. The Navy secures our territorial waters and conducts sea lift operations in support of our troops, performs mercy missions, rescue and relief operations during calamities, and protects our marine resources and environment. The audience is requested to rise for the passing of the colors. You may be seated as soon as the colors have passed. Thank you. The audience may be seated. The mass colors represent the different major services and AFP-wide separate and support units of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. The 2nd Brigade is headed by Commodore Robert Empedrad, his Staff Lieutenant Colonels Rodel Martinez, Marvin Sapiciencia, Derek Ablog, Rahman Altre, and Raimundo Rosario. Trailing behind is the battalion from the Army Special Operations Command, headed by Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Jimenez. His Staff Majors Aris Quinto, Honor Balanci, and Vilmor Manawis, and Captain Geoffrey Fabros. The Special Operations Command is comprised of the elite forces of the Army, with the Special Forces, Scout Rangers, and the Light Reaction Regiment. Before you know is the Philippine Marine Corps Battalion headed by Lieutenant Colonel Tanaon Macaumbos. His Staff Majors Dino Hudson Aznar, Faustino Austria, Wilfredo Hinito, and Eulalio de los Santos. A specially trained fighting unit of the Navy designed for rapid deployment, the Philippine Marines conduct amphibious counterinsurgency and special operations in all kinds of terrain and in any weather conditions. Following is a battalion from the 710 Special Operations Wing of the Air Force under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Ariel Mabiling. His staff, Major Patromino Cesar Olmilia, Captains Warren Bete, Dandy Giocampo, and Vincent Paclibar. The 710 Special Operations Wing conducts special operations for the defense of Air Force bases and installations and perform other contingency operations. In front of you now is a battalion of the AFP Peacekeeping Operations Center commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Roberto Huet, his Staff Major Sherwin Monteron, Romeo Galabay, Reden Ochea, and Captain Chodorico Nicor. Being one of the original United Nations member states, the Republic of the Philippines has been committed to global peace and recognizes the UN Security Council to have responsibility under the UN Charter in maintaining international peace and security. It shared missions in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Middle East, Golan Heights, East Timor, Liberia, Haiti, and in other areas. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just seen a segment of your armed forces pass before you. They represent our brothers and sisters out there in the field, defending our freedom and independence as well as our democratic institutions. The Troop Commander, Major General Angelito M. De Leon, will report the termination of this afternoon's ceremonies.
Kalupunan! Ho! Mahal na Pangulo, tapos na po ang palatuntunan. Harap sa kanan. Harap! Pasulong. Cut!
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the parade and review in honor of the President of the Republic of the Philippines and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, and the AFP Change of Command ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. We'd like to request everyone to please remain seated as the President leaves the grandstand. Once again, we'd like to request everyone to please remain seated as the President leaves the grandstand. We also would like to inform all attendees for the command conference are requested to proceed directly to the General Headquarters Conference Room for the command conference.